Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to everyone joining the webinar of National Startup Awards 4.0 on building a successful business that is identifying growth strategies. Entrepreneurship today is a key driver of innovation and the economic transformation in the country. With this view in mind, Startup India has launched the fourth edition of the National Startup Awards to recognize and reward outstanding startups that have demonstrated exceptional capabilities to build innovative, scalable, and impactful business solutions. This year, we have awards spanning across 20 categories like women led innovation, impact in rural areas, and many more. The winners will receive a cash prize of INR 10 lakhs, and the winners and finalists will receive exclusive handholding support in the form of government connects, investor connects, market access, and more. We have a fantastic lineup of industry expert and notable startups amongst us today who will share their insights and experiences with us. Allow me to introduce you the CEO of PolicyBazaar.com, Sarbvir Singh. Sarbvir
Hi.
Singh, happy to have you on board, Sarbvir. So, to tell you all a little bit about him, he's leading the team of Policy Bazaar, that is India's leading insurtech company. He's responsible for the overall business performance of Policy Bazaar as well. Prior to his current position, Sarbvir has accumulated 2 decades worth of experience across corporate leadership roles, venture capital, and public markets investing. So it's great to have you on board, Sarbvir, and we're looking forward to the insights that you're going to share with us today.
Happy to be here, Sarjeet, and look forward to your questions.
Yes, absolutely. So, getting right on point, as we know that the insurance industry today is a highly regulated vertical, right? Specifically, talking about Policy Bazaar, the parent company has been able to upswing towards potential profitability for the 23-24 period. Now that we have been reading about it everywhere, how does Policy Bazaar navigate the regulatory landscape and ensure compliance amidst uncertainties with all the necessary guidelines in place?
Sure, I think that's a very important question because the business and the space that we operate in, regulation is very important and a part of the environment. First, let me explain to you why regulation is important in insurance. Insurance is essentially a promise, right? You pay money and then the promise is fulfilled later. So you pay a premium, and if something happens to you, let's say you are hospitalized, then the company agrees to pay the claim. So as you can imagine, it's a very unique kind of service where you're paying upfront and something may happen in the future. So it is very important that the interests of the consumers are actually looked after by somebody. That it should not just be between the company and the consumer. And world over, globally, insurance is a highly regulated industry for this reason. So this is the fundamental reason why insurance is regulated. Now, once you understand that and you understand the ethos of Policy Bazaar, what is the ethos of Policy Bazaar? We are on the side of the customer. So we were set up 14, 15 years ago with the objective that we wanted to do what is the right thing for the consumer. We wanted to sell the right kind of policies. We wanted to provide transparency so that the consumer could choose. And of course, we wanted to help them, in the journey of the policy. Now, when you marry this with the reason I explained to you as to why you need to have regulation, you can understand that why we would actually be both welcoming of regulation and why we take it very seriously. Because we believe that it's a fundamental thing which is part of the industry and which is pro-consumer. Now, coming directly to your question, I think we are regulated. We are registered as a intermediary, a broker with IRDAI, which is the insurance regulator in India. We follow all the rules in letter and spirit that IRDAI has laid out. We understand these rules very carefully. We understand the changes that keep happening, as right now we are in the midst of a lot of changes, which the current Chairman Panda sir is doing. So we are very much aware of those issues. We understand them and we take great amount of care that we follow all the regulations. And again, my suggestion because there may be some entrepreneurs, others who are thinking of starting up in the insurance space who might be listening, is that you have to plan for this. So when you start something in this space, I think you should be aware of the regulation. Like I said, you should have an understanding of why and what are the regulations. And then you must have a plan to honor them. Because without that, I think you will find that the going will be very difficult. And especially as you try to scale, you will face many challenges. So I think it's really important to understand the context of the regulation and then obviously to follow it.
Absolutely. And given the maturity that Policy Bazaar has been working with, and it has been in the market for so long, and also like given the recent changes that we have been having in the industry, especially in this particular space, it's really great to see how well the team has been adapting to what's been coming forward. So I think that's quite interesting to look at. Sarbvir, just to throw some light here, I mean, we have an overall startup count of close to 1 lakh startups in India today, where we see that there are about 3,000 plus DPIT recognized startups belonging to the financial technology sector alone. And Policy Bazaar has been in the market for quite some time now, as I said. And you came on board in December 2019, if I'm not wrong. What key implementations have you been able to bring in that are keeping the company in line with today's ever advancing industry shifts? So, what has been your vision ever since you have come on board?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And the way I would answer it is that, see, there was a lot of clarity in Policy Bazaar before I joined and hopefully after I joined in terms of what is it that we're trying to do.
Right.
As I explained to you, we are on the side of the consumer. We focus on helping the Indian middle class deal with death, disease, and disability. So these are the three Ds, as we call them. And this is the mission with which the company was started by Yashish 2000 and all the founders in 2008. And this is the mission with which we continue to operate. So if you see, it's been now 15, this is our 15th year, and this mission has not changed at all. I was I was clear about the mission, and something that I genuinely believed in. So it was not difficult for me to adopt or become part of this team. I think if I could say, the journey was a continuous journey, and I honestly believe that one should always look ahead and, frankly, not look behind ever. And as I looked at the opportunity, I was actually very enthused that there was a huge opportunity ahead of us. And that opportunity is, we had reached a certain scale. We were in the low 3,000 crores of premium at that time. And we could see an opportunity to build a much bigger business. And a lot of hard work had been done by the team already. And we are blessed with having a wonderful team, which is largely intact. So I think what I have been trying to do, and I think along with my colleagues, this is very much a collaborative effort, is to take that journey forward. And we were at a very interesting point in 2019 where the consumer was coming to Policy Bazaar and saying that not only do I want sales from you, like, yes, I want to compare products, I want to understand which product I should buy, but I also want service from you. I want to be assured that if I buy this policy, that you will make sure that if any changes are needed to the policy, to my nominee, if I need to use any facility, if I need to make a claim, you will be present. And that was something that was there in our mind, but it was not as well developed. Now, if you fast forward to 3 years later, you'll find that our premium is now, last year we did almost 12,000 crores, so almost 4 times the premium. And the most important thing beyond the numbers is that we have started building a muscle in this service part. And the service part is really, really hard because insurance, we are dealing with 50 plus insurance companies. They have their own different, levels at which they operate. But the consumer expects us to provide a uniform experience, irrespective of who they bought, whose policy they bought from us. Now, that's a huge responsibility, and that's something that we have been working towards. So if you see the effort that we have put in on the customer experience side, whether it's service, whether it's claims. So today we have almost 500 people who work in the claims part of Policy Bazaar, who help customers with their claims. If they get stuck, if maybe a knowledge issue, they may not know what to do. It could be for some reason the claim has been denied or whatever. So we work with them. So it's a huge lift, I think, that all of us have done to bring ourselves up to a level of service which the consumer expects. And of course, by no means is the journey over. I think there's a long way to go for us. And that's something that we will keep adapting and keep improving on this side. We've also started 2 new businesses in the last few years. One is a business where we are serving corporate customers, which is called Policy Bazaar for Business. There again, like we were serving consumers, there we are serving corporates in health as well as in property, fire risk, marine, cyber risk, etc. So that's one business that we are building out. And the second new business that we started was PB Partners, which is our agent aggregation platform. So these are insurance agents who are already in the market, and we provide them with a platform from which they can operate and manage their customers, etc. So again, these two new businesses have also scaled quite significantly. So I think yes, we have a lot to do, and I think a long way to go in terms of our growth prospects, etc.
That's great to know about that, Sarbvir. Actually, that does answer my next question, because I wanted to ask you about, placing this in front of you, that there has been a significant growth in the digital insurance market. So I wanted to know, what is it that you are doing to stay ahead of the curve, and the services angle that you've brought in, that the entire Policy Bazaar team has brought in, has actually been, quite pivotal in terms of providing that extra support, and not just being limited to aggregating the insurance instruments on the portal. But I would definitely like to touch upon this angle, this new services that you've been talking about, the Policy Bazaar for corporates. If we talk about startups, and especially the volatile nature of startups, because they are quite innovative and disruptive in nature, in their true essence, and in their early stages, how do you think this could intertwine with that nature of a particular startup, irrespective of which industry it belongs to?
So I would say that there are a couple of points on that. I think
Yeah,
the first point is that, as you know, startups, see, again, very small companies, to be honest, beyond a point, can't focus on insurance, etc. I mean, in the sense that,
correct.
they are a risky business, and hence I think they have to embrace that and uh, get to a certain point. But
Right.
having said that, I think, you have employees. See, today the nature of startups is very much that a lot of the startups are soft power, right? They are driven by the talent that they have, and the sort of intellectual property that is being built up. It's not
Right.
really necessarily in manufacturing or something where the plant or machinery is the big asset, right? So the asset are the people. So now you have to look after those people, right? And one of the things is you provide health benefits to them, you provide other benefits. Now that is something where Policy Bazaar for Business comes in, and we have tailored solutions for startups, because startups, of course, can't pay that much money, yet they want good service. So we try to create a proposition for them, because the good news is that mostly startups have younger employees. So the combination of younger employees, well, sort of structured policies can allow you to have a relatively lower cost. So that's something that we work on. The second area that we work on with startups is that whenever there are formal investors, they require some kind of liability policies, right? Whether it could be a DNO policy, it could be something to do with key man risk, etc., etc. So I think again we have a set of we have our experts who are able to help, and again provide both budget friendly or pocket friendly solutions, as well as make sure that they are covered, because investors do want that coverage. So I think for startups we have a unique set of characteristics, having been one ourselves, having seen that journey. I think we are able to offer relatively good experiences. But again, as I said in the beginning, I think startups are somewhat inherently risky, especially when you are small. And beyond a point, obviously, insurance can't cover that risk.
Yeah, yeah. But still, I think whatever you've covered so far, I'm sure it'll help the audience that has tuned in, because that's the most relevant,
Yes.
set of people that are tuned in. So I'm sure they'll check this service out for sure. Uh,
Exactly.
the last question I have for you is, before we jump to the audience, in case they have anything that they want to ask you, how can we ensure and motivate the youth in the country to take up entrepreneurship more actively? And any parting advice that you have for them, basis your experience in your journey so far?
No, I think I think without question, it's a great time to be an Indian. It's a great time to be in India at this point. I think the amount of capital that is available, the scale of the market. See, it's not just the capital that is important, it's the market opportunity. In my opinion, that's the most important thing, right? So there's a market opportunity which has attracted this capital, which has attracted a lot of talent. I think there are a lot of successful examples now in front of people. So I don't think being a startup entrepreneur is, I think, is a badge of pride and courage rather than a concern for anyone. So I think that the ecosystem could not be better, if you ask me, in the country today. Every aspect is helpful. I think the government is super helpful. Regulations are always being thought about in terms of what can be done for startups. Capital is there. People are willing to join. So I think there could be no better time. Obviously, things go up and down a little bit around the edges. So I would say yes, it's a great time. I think the second thing which I would always suggest to anyone who's thinking of starting up is that you must have a certain, inherent belief in the idea. See, a startup can never be a commercial enterprise alone. Obviously, it has to be a commercial enterprise. It has to be self-sustaining, etc. But to start something new, you must have a certain passion and desire for that problem, and that problem must be something that you care about. Because sometimes I see people who are doing something not because they care about it, but because on a spreadsheet or something it looks logical that this is a market gap or that is a market opportunity. But unfortunately, I feel that is not enough, because the journey in a startup is long. See, it will take you honestly somewhere between 7-10 years to get somewhere, right? So in that 7-10 year journey there will be ups and downs, and the only way you will go through those downs, right, the ups obviously everyone can handle, the downs is that if you have faith and belief in the problem. So I would again urge you, I always say that you don't have to do a startup. See, there are tons of other things that are equally good to do. But if you want to do a startup, then please feel the problem, and please feel as if it's something that you really care about, because that emotion is needed. Because without that emotion, you will find that you will have a tendency to give up, earlier in the fray. And persistence is, if there's a single quality that I can tell you that you should have to become a successful entrepreneur, is persistence. If you can stay the course, you are blessed with a growing market, a very young market like India. So something good will come, but you have to be persistent. You must have the confidence to keep going, or the perseverance to keep going, and that can only come if you really believe in the idea. So that would be my only advice. Rest of the gyan, I think everyone knows. Just feel the problem.
That's actually great, because coming from somebody like you who's been in the ecosystem for quite some time, summarizing that it's the right time to be in India, and just going for a problem statement because on the face of it looks fancy is not enough, because of course it's tiring and it's taxing to be an entrepreneur, but having some belief and some faith into your problem that you're solving and trying to map it to the market that you're addressing is something very important through and through. So thank you for your inputs. And that's something that even the audience is pretty much resonating with. Uh, and with that, I would like to take it to the people tuned in with us today. If you have any questions, if there's something that you would like to ask Sarbvir about your solution, about what he feels, and some advice that you would want to take from him, we'll wait on that. All right, we have a question that's come in, quite a detailed one. Uh, Scaling a business while maintaining a strong social impact focus can be challenging. How do you balance the need for growth and profitability with the core values and purpose of the organization? And if you could provide some examples of strategic decisions where you have successfully aligned growth with social and environmental objectives.
Yeah, I think it's a very relevant and I would say a tough question. The way I would explain it is that we believe that what we are trying to do, as I said, our North Star is that we are trying to help the middle class deal with death, disease, and disability. So that is a very important and important objective for Indian society as a whole. It's not just something which Policy Bazaar is doing, and obviously we are joined by a whole number of other people in this endeavor. Now, the way we balance the thing is that one is that we have, and again, you have to draw the lines yourself. There is no way that I can or anyone else can tell you what lines make sense and what lines don't make sense. Because one thing we are very clear about is that we are not, at the end of the day, we are a for-profit organization. We have investors, we have shareholders today, public shareholders, and we owe it to them for them to earn a positive return on their investment. So we are very clear on that. Now, having said that, we believe that the path to earning a positive return for them goes through this mission. That if we do a good job of this mission, if we help Indians protect themselves, then our shareholders will take care of themselves. So it's not that we have to worry about the outcome. We worry about the inputs to that outcome, and that clarity is there in us. We have taken many decisions which may have been in the short run at odds with commercial impact. And I'll give you an example perhaps where, uh, and I don't want to give very specific examples, but I'll just share some thinking, right? There are certain products that we sell and certain products that we don't sell. Now, some of the products that we don't sell may have very high commission rates, right? But we believe that those products, in our belief, now, others may have a different view, but we believe that those products are not good for the customer. So we, despite the fact that they have higher commercials, we do not sell those products, right? Now, in the short run, that is, I would say it's something that could have hurt us or has hurt us in the past or could hurt us even today. But we believe that in the long run, it's going to suit us well. Uh, I'll give another very recent example where we introduced a term plan for housewives. Now, this was a first in the industry because, as in we meaning working with our insurance partners, and it was the first in the industry because largely it was believed that housewives don't earn income or whatever. Whereas, as we all know, they provide a significant value to the family, right? So it's they are earning income in a different way. Now, when we introduced this, I think it was good for society because we were helping families protect themselves. It was good for housewives. It was good business for the insurance company because now they got a new segment which they were not, working on before this. And obviously, it was good for Policy Bazaar. So I think this is a good example where we are bringing different sides together, where there is positive social impact. Yet it's good business, and it's not that any one side is sacrificing for the other. And that would finally be my answer to you, to the person who asked the question, that many times we see things as a zero sum game, that somebody is going to gain if somebody loses. But very often in life, actually, it happens that there are a few zero sum games, but not all. So there are many games where you can actually all benefit. And many times it's a circle, it's a virtuous circle where if one person benefits, the other also benefits, and so on and so forth. So I would say look for those opportunities, and you will find that both commercial impact and social impact can be done together without sacrificing one or the other. Yes, in the short run, you may have to take a call, but in the long run, I think it can be done. But you have to do it.
Understood. Great. Thanks for that. One last question that's coming for you. I think this is going to be an interesting take. The global insurance industry, while being well spread in India, still has many players in the country. What are the kind of moats that healthcare startups can build on?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. Can you just explain?
So again, I think what the user is trying to plug in is that the insurance industry, given how many players they are already there, uh, any modes that the healthcare startups can leverage these instruments that we have and see how that plugs into the insurance sector.
Oh, absolutely. So let
Yeah.
me explain to you that, and this is a very big trend that is going on in the industry right now,
Right.
that health insurance largely addresses what is called indemnity, which means that if you're hospitalized, then only money is paid to you, right? Now, as we all know, that of if 100 rupees is the total health expenditure in our country, one third is related to hospitalization, and two-thirds is actually related to OPD or outside of hospital, expenditure. And again, if you look at your own personal experience, right, I mean, you would recognize that hopefully hospitalization is a rare event, whereas you do go to the doctor once in a while. You may have the flu, you may have some other infection or something like that. So two-thirds of the expenditure is actually not being addressed by health insurance. Only one third is being addressed. So I think there's a wonderful opportunity for, and many, I think, startups are there in that space who are trying to bring a combination of insurance and other services where a person can get a overall healthcare package, which is not just for hospitalization but is also for outside of hospital expenses. So I think that's one obvious area. And then there is a whole area around preventive healthcare, right? One of the things that people, I mean, very few people actually want to go to hospital, right? They want to prevent that thing. And if you can help in that prevention, then in an indirect way, you're helping the insurance side of it. And you could tie up with insurers and you could work in that thing where they may help offset some of your expenses because in a way you are making their consumers more healthy. So I think there are a lot of such opportunities around health insurance, because again, consumers are looking to for their overall health. They are not looking for health insurance, right? Health insurance is a solution to one part of the problem, and then there's a bigger problem. So I think that's a very fertile area for startups to focus on.
Right, right. All right. Thank you so much, Sarbvir, for those for such an insightful session. I'm sure the take. I mean, there are going to be a good amount of takeaways for the audience, especially in terms of continuing with the solution and having that faith in the startup and the idea. And your inputs throughout on the insurance segment have been duly noted. Thank you for joining us. With that, I will give the cue to my team to play the website walkthrough with you for the audience. Once again, thank you, Sarbvir, for your time and your insights.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Continuing with the session, it is my pleasure to introduce the visionary entrepreneurs who led their startups to win the startup awards in the previous years. We have with us Vishala Reddy, who is the founder of Millet Bank, which is an end-to-end enterprise designed to give back to the land what has been taken away, to put it straightforward. They're amalgamating multiple market linkages to benefit farmers, entrepreneurs, and create awareness amongst consumers with focuses across farmer field centers, digital commerce, millet collab centers, and green culture. Parallel to her commercial career before with a passion for livable places, as she's had experiences as a hotelier and destination market consultant, she conceptualized and executed large city civic engagement campaigns as well. We also have with us Dr. Madhukar CEO of Innaumation Medical Services, which is a Bangalore-based medical device startup working on area of voice restoration for throat cancer patients, with the motto of making science affordable, affable, and accessible. Madhukar is an MBA and has more than 15 years of experience in the pharmaceutical and building materials industries, and teaching at MBA level as well. It's great to have you, Vishala and Madhukar. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining me today for the
Another
session.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Uh, Getting straight to the questions that I have lined up for you, starting with Vishala. As an impact entrepreneur, you have successfully conceptualized and executed large scale civic engagement campaigns focused on urban rejuvenation and community building before. How did these experiences shape your understanding of effective growth strategies for businesses operating in the social impact space? And what key insights can you share with the aspiring entrepreneurs in this particular field?
Thank you, Sarabjit. Yes, these both are actually completely different. I was working in the urban space, and now what I am trying to solve is the rural problem.
Right.
Though it is very different, and the kind of problems are very different. It has given extreme exposure for me to identify the problem. The ability to identify the problem. You every day drive to your office and you don't see anything on the road, like you just focus on your office and then go on. But how we identify the problem of pedestrians, what kind of issues are they facing, and how the cyclists are suffering. So very few people will be able to identify and try to solve also. It's not everybody who identifies goes and solves it. So one is to ability to identify the problem and what kind of interventions it is required to solve the problem. That is second thing. And these spaces are very complex. It's not very easy. Somebody is not paying you to do that job. It is like you are picking up your energy, your empathy and ability, and then onboarding more stakeholders and trying to solve it. So it's a zero budget campaign. The second one is what kind of easy interventions that you are coming up with, so that you can solve that problem. And the third one is working with diverse segments of stakeholders. One, you have to work with government, and then you have to work with civic engagement institutions, and then citizens you have to work, and then NGOs, and then media and PR to solve this issue. So working with this diverse segment of stakeholders is one of the learning. And the fourth one is it's a zero budget. Most of the startups actually work with zero budget and having nothing in hand, right? So most of these civic engagement campaigns also, we did not raise any funds. It's more of a crowd funding model, or a crowd sourcing model, where everybody came together and then they contributed their skill, or they contributed some resource or something like that. So how do you mobilize this kind of people, and then funds required for that? That is one of the major focus that I learned. And when you do this kind of campaigns, it will give a lot of trust and credibility within your family and then your community also. The sense of acceptance among the investors, and then trying to experiment with this kind of problems also will give a huge boost. So I think these are some of the learnings that I had, which I am actually able to effectively implement in my new journey as well. So though people say Millet Bank is just 2 years, and the kind of within 2 years you achieved a lot, I say it is not just 2 years. It's more than like a decade of learning. Then now I properly know how to implement into this kind of a structure. So yes, that definitely helped me out.
Right. Thanks for that, Vishala. Commendable the efforts that you've been putting in so far. Dr. Madhukar, my next question is for you. Innovation medical devices focuses on making science affordable and accessible, as has been said many times before. How have you balanced the goal of affordability with the need for sustainable growth in your business? I think this is something that a lot of businesses today struggle. And can you elaborate on any unique approaches or partnerships that have contributed to this particular balance?
See, I am working in the millet space. Millets is now a subject of region and national and also international. It is a subject of today, and it was actually millet was the first crop, and millet is also is going to be a future crop. So it is very relevant for us. And now number two is that when you go and approach any business or any startup, you see this analysis, like we do SWOT analysis. And what I have applied before Millet Bank is a pestle analysis. So the pestle analysis, that political, environmental, legal, and all this, whether social and technological. So I have applied each and everything. If you see politically, it has become an important subject for even the local politician to support the small and marginal farmers. And then if you see the national, the kind of national issues that we are having today in terms of the malnutrition, or in terms of the diseases, and in terms of, the micronutrient deficiencies, and having the problem of climate change. Now you see the unseasonal rain. So everything is a problem of national importance today. And if you look at the international level also, almost all the SDGs and the net zero, that global level that organization talking about, also it is very relevant. So millet is one of the way that you can solve multiple issues. That is how they are called as a magical grains. So yes, we are actually aligning to this of a national important subject, and how do we make it sustainable? Because this is a very complex system. It's not a very easy that you can go and identify something and then pick up a product and sell in the market. It doesn't work like that. If you see in millets as a culture, it's a part of our culture. We always call agriculture is our country's culture, right? So the dryland agriculture where I have come from, it was integrated right from seed saving to the plowing to the the harvesting and to the storage of the grains, and then the processing. Everything was domestic, and actually it was mostly for domestic purpose. And suddenly the rise in terms of need of nutritious food and need of solving climate issues, it is giving a good boost for the farmers and for millets. But one interventions will not be able to solve. Therefore, you need independent interventions across the value chain, and each intervention should be sustainable and profitable. So, when you're strategizing this kind of a business models, it is very we should identify what kind of interventions are you going to do it, and each intervention itself is a startup, itself is a business model. So if we
Right.
can have some kind of a strategy, then we can, it's helpful for us. Yeah.
Right. Right. Dr. Madhukar, your take on moving affordability and accessibility hand in hand, and as I said, uh, any approaches or partnerships that have contributed to this balance for your startup, that is Innaumation Medical Devices.
Yes. So, Sarabjit, we have from the inception, we've been a social enterprise that's totally focused on rehabilitating throat cancer patients,
Right.
whether it's India or abroad. And today we see that uh, loss of voice to throat cancer is a problem that's prevalent in at least about 140 countries. We have close to 5 lakh patients, of whom most of them end up without a voice because of the problem of affordability. India, the disposable incomes are so small that they cannot afford expensive devices like what is available currently in the market. And when you look at overseas markets, their health insurance packages do not cover a device within the price bracket. So most of these people end up without a voice. So our vision from inception has been to be able to support these patients, which is why we've priced our offering very low as compared to what competition is doing currently. Now, to set off the aspect of pricing, we are in a market where there's already a limited number of users or buyers. And the lower price point does not help our bottom lines or profits in any way. So, to be able to look at that, one thing that we've done is we're using our facility in Bangalore, our manufacturing facility in Bangalore, and opening it up to contract manufacturing opportunities in the healthcare space, which allows us to look at manufacturing silicon, rubber, or plastic related items using the state of the art machine that we have. It's a liquid silicon injection molding machine that can run 24 bar 7 bar 365. And the times that we are not manufacturing the device, we have opened up the machinery to outsourcing and taking up contract manufacturing jobs. That's one part. Along with that, we have made a few strategic collaborations both in India, and we are also now looking at the possibility of tying up with distributors internationally who would help us scale our businesses beyond India. And from what I've understood, the price points are slightly better, so the margins will be slightly better when we look at international markets, and that's where I believe we'll be able to look at maintaining that balance between affordability and scalability, or maintaining the balance in the business.
That's great actually how you've managed to tie that for your business, especially the innovative nature of your product specifically in this particular space. Having touched upon affordability and accessibility, I just wanted your take, Dr. Madhukar, on the sustainability bit as well, because it is a growing concern for businesses today. And in what ways does Innovation Medical Devices prioritize the sustainability angle within its operations, if I'm to say? And how has that commitment contributed to the overall success of your startup or impacted in any way?
So in terms of sustainability, right from the time that we commercialized our solution, the kit has a wooden inserter which is made from recycled wood,
Right.
which we have got it done from a toy maker in Chennapatna, close to Bangalore. So he makes these inserters and ships it across to us, which goes in as part of our overall package. So that's something that we are looking at scaling up in the future as well. This is from a product point of view. From a material point of view, we're looking at platinum cured medical grade silicon, which is an expensive material, but also is the gold standard as far as products made out of silicon in the healthcare industry or medical device industry are concerned. And what we've done is, with respect to using this the machinery, that equipment that I mentioned to you earlier as part of the last question, this minimizes wastage to about 4 to 5%, from earlier about 35 to 40%. So we are able to make a device, the voice prosthesis, with roughly about 5 grams of silicon, as against close to about 18 grams of silicon earlier. So that's something that we've been focusing on as far as making our effort or our push towards sustainability. Along this while, we would also now focusing on aspects related to the MSME's initiative of Z certification, which is being offered currently by the Ministry of MSME. And we have initiated a few protocols within the factory, within the manufacturing unit, which will enable us to be Z certificate compliant, which essentially focuses on zero defect and zero effect as a policy, which has been launched by our Honorable Prime Minister and has been carried forward by the MSME department. So this has been our focus right now with regards to sustainability in our business venture.
That's great. Thank you, Dr. Madhukar, for that. Before I move on to a question that is for the both of you, Vishala, I wanted to ask you. I believe you have already touched this briefly, but could you provide any specific examples of strategic decisions that you may have made successfully align business growth with social and environmental objectives? Understand that anyway you're an impact entrepreneur, so everything it'll be great to know from you if any specific inputs or any particular decision that you have made that have taken both these things together.
On a very funny note, I will tell you that I always wanted to become a social entrepreneur. When I started my journey, that entrepreneur was missing, and then social, was remained. So instead of becoming a social entrepreneur, I become a social activist, right? So this time the change was actually okay. No, I want to become an entrepreneur. So at least I will remain the social entrepreneur. So this was a very conscious decision. And one more thing is that before, for coming up with this Millet Bank as an idea, I decided that it is not a 1 year or a 2 year journey. And, people should be like, you always see the brands, right? Like, some XYZ company, 100 years old, something like that. So I always wanted to see this is a very long term, and then people should be reminded this should be a legacy. And then, your thought and your conviction has to be very, very true and authentic. So that is how I actually decided it should be true to the focus, true to contributing to the future, future of farmers, the future generations, to get healthy food. So that conviction is something. And the second one is that before doing any intervention, for example, that we have 4 interventions in our value chain. Number one is providing agri infrastructure at the grassroots level. So why are we doing this, and how do we make money out of it? Because it has to be sustainable business, otherwise it will not impact on a long term basis. So what areas that we have to make it like the align the money on the social impact and cultural impact, environmental impact, and economical impact. So for every intervention, then we did this kind of analytics. And then the second one is millet based value added products. Who are we involving, and how do we do the pricing strategy, and where are we doing the marketing? And the third one also, like consumer education is one of the biggest problem in this country. And as a startup, small startup, I can't go and spend crores of rupees, in doing the consumer education. While the government is doing mostly like information broadcasting, they are actually creating a lot of awareness about millets, and the Honorable Prime Minister himself being the ambassador, we also have to do at our level the engagement point of view, direct consumer point of view. How do you make them touch, feel, and taste the products? Government cannot do this. We as a startups, we as front runners, we have to do it. But I can't do the free sampling, so we came up with an intervention of giving gifting, corporate gifting. So with one, I started earning money by doing this kind of consumer awareness education programs also. So it's about finding out the interventions and doing this kind of impact analysis, and then how do you, streamline the process of which is giving you money, which is not giving you money. If you have that strategy, then it will be a successful business.
Great, great. Thanks. Thank you so much for that. So another question for the both of you, actually, before we move on to the audience, in case they have any questions to ask you. And given that both of you are National Startup Award winners in the previous editions, initiatives like National Startup Awards do create a network for startups to connect and more people actually beyond just startups, I'd say. How important do you think it is for startups and entrepreneurs to compete in such a space while learning from each other simultaneously? And I think this has more to do with your experience, being part of the National Startup Awards journey. What do you think are the key takeaways or how important it is for entrepreneurs to be part of something like that? Dr. Madhukar, let's start from you on this one.
So for us, winning the National Startup Awards right in the midst of the first wave of COVID was nothing short of a miracle, I would say. The kind of recognition and accolades that we got
Right.
from not only the health community but from far and beyond as well, both India and abroad, was tremendous. And it was also one of the fundamental reasons for us to be able to secure funding from prospective collaborators or partners. I would like to take this opportunity to thank BIRAC, which is a central government initiative that is working in the space of helping startups in the medtech biotech space. A key funding through a program called the Product Commercialization Program from BIRAC, which we had been following up for a very, very long time, coincidentally happened very, very immediately with the National Startup Awards and us winning that award. And it also facilitated us, to be recognized on multiple platforms like the Tata Social Enterprise platform, the National University of Singapore platform, and a few other social platforms, which helped us, not only scale our work, but also showcase the kind of work that we've been doing, and spread the word out. So I think that way, the National Startup Awards platform, and being one of the first winners in the healthcare domain in the National Startup Awards scheme has been phenomenal for us, and I think that only paves the way for us to grow forward and grow stronger. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your thoughts there. Vishala, your take on this?
First of all, what I have noticed in the startup awards is like it will challenge you. So I actually the kind of questions being asked when the presentation, the jury, they will bring a very different perspective. You think of something, but they will give a very different perspective. So it will challenge you, and it will also streamline if there is any mistakes that you are doing in your business model. It will be an opportunity for you to correct it, and that is one thing that what I learned. And the second thing, it is a very prestigious tag to have. It's like a national startup award, a finalist or a winner, very prestigious tag. India is not a small country. We call it as a continent, and being in this kind of a continent and getting very few, it's not that everybody get maybe 100 or 75. So being in that kind of a community gives us a lot of confidence, and it will open a lot of doors. When you say that I'm a national startup award, the other person also will receive you. The receiving will be more respectful and then more trustworthy. And then third one is that definitely, it's the motivating factor for the team also, because we have to go a long way. Then the onboarding the new people and then getting more investment also, definitely it will be. And the fourth one is the learning and collaboration platforms that you introduced. I was attending this HSBC, and the kind of offerings that were given to us were fantastic. I was thinking, oh my god, this solved the problem. And what I noticed is it just didn't end there. The next day I got an email from HSBC, and within a week I was given like two platforms within their internal teams.
Right.
and they spoke, and then I was able to showcase that what kind of work that we were doing, and then they've given some insights, so we are taking the journey forward. So it didn't just end as a okay, we spoke in the conference and we went and we've seen like two different routes. Actually there was a follow-up and there is some kind of outcome out of it. So this is a great platform, and I definitely wish all the other startups also to test and to get challenged and to win and to be proud of it.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. I believe that's true because the forms are indeed challenging and do give the startup quite a lot of clarity about their solution also when they're filling in the details and what comes after, um, if given that the startup is shortlisted for the handholding, because it doesn't just end at the cash prize. I mean, handholding ranges from government connects to investor connects and market access. That covers a lot of grounds, and it's a 360-degree approach to actually handholding a startup to propel their solution forward, irrespective of the industry that they're a part of. So, thank you. Thanks to both of you for your thoughts there. Um, I believe, in case anybody has any questions from the audience that they would like to ask the startups today, we can do that. I think in the meantime, there are any questions coming. We have a short video to play in that buffer period. I'll just request my team to uh, play the National Startup Awards video. Thanks for that. In the meantime, we have received a question for the both of you that says, looking ahead, what are your future plans for growth and expansion, and how do you foresee your ventures making a broader impact in the industry or community? Starting with you, Dr. Madhukar.
Yeah, in terms of looking at scaling our businesses, one we are actively pursuing placing our device and selling it across all the regional cancer care centers across India. That's where 80% of the cancer population goes to for medical treatment, cancer-related treatment. So that's something that we've been focusing on. And along with that, we've also received inquiries and interest from about 5 different countries globally, where they have spoken of an interest or an initial interest of at least in the range of about 2,000 to 5,000 kits of the home voice processes. So that's something that we are exploring. Of course, that will require us to comply with CE and US FDA as the regulatory standards, which we, while as we are speaking, we are already in process of registering and complying for those as well. So as soon as we complete them, we'll be in a position to scale up to those markets as well. So that's something that we're looking at as far as scaling and expanding our operations. Thank you.
That's great to know about. Some interesting traction you're getting there. Vishala, what about you? What are your growth and expansion plans for the way ahead?
So last 2 years, we focused more on strengthening our supply chain and building our product portfolio. So sale was there, but we have not focused really on a proactive sales. It was more reactive and through personal relationships or through a little efforts. And this year, our focus is completely on selling and scaling. That's it. Like we want to expand our products into the various other markets and then find new other distribution channels And this is on the product side, on the value added product side. But when it comes to the grassroots level impact, we won, very happy to inform that we also won Atal New India Challenge for one of our intervention, which is to provide grassroots level infrastructure to solve the production level problems, to get quality grains. How do we do it, and how do we provide that integrated ecosystem? And we won that, and officially the announcement is going to be there very soon. And we want to activate one of such center as a pilot in one of the tribal regions. So our focus is also now getting this kind of infrastructure streamlined, and then value-added products as sales strategies. So these two.
Hoping more such centers get tapped into beyond the pilot. That's some
Yes,
interesting traction
yes,
again
yes,
there.
yes,
One
yes.
last question again for the both of you. Given that you have been, doing brilliantly, and we do wish you all the best, how does a startup become recession-proof in times like these, or prepare for unforeseen challenges such as the pandemic or changes in regulations or the funding winter for that matter? Uh, Dr. Madhukar, your take on this particular question first.
From our own experience, we have scaled our operations and made it sustainable using the grants route. I'm not sure if too many other people will agree, but it is a slightly slow process, but something that has helped us, reach where we are. Right from winning the first BIG grant to looking at a host of other awards, and also securing the product commercialization program. Today, I'm happy to say that we have secured close to about 5.75 crores in grants and awards money, which has helped us reach where we are. So that has helped us tremendously. And while we were forced, probably we would have otherwise been forced to look at scenarios with investors during the pandemic or recession or any other scenarios. This has kind of shock-proofed us or prepared us to only scale better and now pitch to the investors in a more stable scenario, and grow businesses and on our own terms.
Right, right. Vishala, your take on this?
No, absolutely. By reducing the your costs and making more conscious decisions is one of the way. And one more thing is that startup itself is a risk, so you have to be prepared for ups and downs, and then how to sail through. And this kind of this is actually COVID intervention. Millet Bank itself is a COVID intervention, and there were many people who have seen opportunities, and some people got depressed out of it. So every challenge will give you more opportunities to reinvent and to redefine that what you are doing, and then how do you take it forward. So this is every challenge is an opportunity. So you find think through the problem, and then sleep over it, and then I'm sure that there will be some kind of solutions within this model itself will emerge. And definitely the grants, I'll take some lessons from Dr. Madhukar as well. So we also need a few grants. So this kind of if you're doing really good work in approaching this kind of CSR funds and the grant funds, you will be able to survive. And these are some of the things that which you have to keep in mind. I think some network issue.
I guess so.
I think there was some tech issue with Sarah. But on behalf of him and the entire startup community, I'd like to thank both of you for joining us today. I hope we had an interactive session. We had a lot of people joining us today as well. Thank you so much, both of you. I hope and invite people to apply for the National Startup Awards. We have only 2 days to go, today and tomorrow, for the application deadline. So request all of you to please go to www.startupindia.gov.in and apply soon. Thank you so much for joining in, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's wishing all the startups all the best for the National Startup Awards 2023. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
All the best. Wish you all good luck. Thank you.
you.